You are watching Gabriola Island TV, community television for you, by you.
Yeah, so it's 5 o'clock. We'd like you to welcome you to the fire hall here for a debrief of the event that happened, or scenario that took place May 26th. Some of the guests that we have here is Shirley Nicholson from ESS and NEPS program. And then we have our Hall 2 captain, Geoff Goodall, and myself, Will Sprogis. The scenario took place down at Hall 2, down in Zone 11. Raise your hands if you're from Zone 11. I think so.
It's from essentially Fern at the Brickyard to Peterson Road would be Zone 11 on South Road.
Great, so there's two things we're hoping to get out of this meeting tonight. One is you know what zone you're in, and two, that you're signed up for Voyant Alert on your mobile device or home computer or your home phone. All right, so it's scheduled for an hour. If you stay any longer, you're going to be part of the naloxone training at 6:30. So you need that training to stay in your seat. We're going to go through the slides. Will take us about 25 minutes. Then we're going to ask for questions just directly related to the scenario that we provided and the evacuation. And then we're going to have a little panel discussion. Shirley Nicholson from NEPS and ESS will have a little talk for you. And then we'll open the floor. I also want to acknowledge our RDN representative, elected representative in the audience, Vanessa Craig. And thanks everyone for attending. Great. So this is, there's some slides here, and we'll just go through it. Good. We were also hoping to have Evan Byron Jones, which is the RDN Fire Smart Coordinator. He came over on the day of the exercise with the regional district's structural protection trailer that they've newly put together. It's a regional asset that has been constructed at the regional district in Nanaimo. Good. So what would an evacuation look like in your neighborhood? So that first part, knowing what zone you're in, really big piece. I'm going to know which zone. And we need to sort of practice. We always practice 2 ways out of our house when we're doing smoke detector training. So we should always practice 2 ways out of our neighborhood. And look at the evacuation plan to see what it refers to. The scenario. So this is a fairly typical scenario that we would possibly see. Say in August time, we see large winds and possibly down power lines. For this event, we were down at the corner of Brickyard Beach at Fern and South Road. And we've even previously seen a fire there, a little grass fire that we quickly contained. But this one gets deep-seated. In this scenario, 2 o'clock is probably the worst time to get a fire. It's really dry. That's probably the driest, hottest conditions you'll see during the day. Rapid fire growth. And rapid spread due to high winds. So we had a big northwest wind that was blowing towards zone 11. Initial attack. So if the page goes out, our pagers go off, both halls are going to respond and we are going to hit it as hard as we can for that initial operational period that could last up to a couple hours. If we're finding we're not getting the hold on it, we will be dispatching all our mutual aid partners as well as BC Wildfire Service. So at this point, we quickly dispatched BC Wildfire Service, and we put the call out to our mutual aid partners. Our mutual aid partners, North Cedar and Cranberry. They take about an hour and a half to get here. Yeah, so in this scenario, kind of the status, we've also put out the ask for the EOC to set up at the regional district, so we can get messaging out through Buoyant Alert. This didn't transpire in the exercise, but real life, that's how it would go. Good, so just to back up. Yeah, I forgot to mention, in that scenario, the island has obviously North Road, South Road to evacuate. In this scenario, the fire and the down power line blocked South Road at Alvarado, the second entrance on Alvarado. So South Road is now blocked, meaning all mutual aid partners have to transit down through North Road to get over to Fire Hall number 2. While this is going on, for the purpose of the exercise, we had this neighborhood volunteer on the Spring Beach Islands View area. So they're the 13 houses that got triaged. That's particularly why they got picked. And we were looking at the Spring Beach area because we had some time to put resources towards protecting that area. And we have a good water source down in the area. So those are the 13 locations that we triaged. This is our briefing at 1800 hours at Hall 2. At that point, you can see all our different crews there. The crew in yellow there is North Cedar, and I think Cranberry is also in yellow there. SECA's there, our emergency communication through HAM, as well as the RDN's reception center staff, and Gertie bus is on its way. And so we picked Fire Hall number 2 as a staging area. It's got a big open gravel yard there. Another shot showing just some faces. But there's the gravel area that we staged all our resources in. It's also what we would consider a safety zone with non-combustible material there. So a fairly safe place to start staging resources if we have to. Good. These represent the agencies that were en route. Wildfire Service. In this exercise, they weren't available because they had real fires going already this season. The fire departments that were deployed were North Cedar and Cranberry, and our full fire department from Gabriola. RCMP gives their regrets. They were busy on real life calls. The same with the ambulance. They were busy on the day of. But they are always welcome to be incorporated in our annual training exercises. Our RCM SAR 27 from Nanaimo, they were en route, and they were to stage out in Trincomalee Channel.
What was that? Sorry? Was that another mutual aid?
Yes.
From Nanaimo?
So they are the Royal Marine Search and Rescue. And they're stationed out of Nanaimo near Brecken boat ramp there. ESS and PALS, they were in the process of getting their crews out to set up a reception center. SECA was dispatched. They had the capability of setting up 4 stations. And Gertie was able to send us one bus, and it was en route. Good. For this exercise, the reception center was at Hall 2, but please don't go to Hall 2 in a real event. Look at your buoyant alert to see where the reception center is. Look at the evacuation plan. Likely it won't be at Hall 2, but for training purposes, we had it there just to have the flow of the staging area. Like we discussed, Sika had 4 operational stations, and RCM SARS, Trincomalee Channel with 2 vessels, an enclosed vessel and an open vessel. And in this event, we kind of left it dynamic. We had RCMP and ambulance were just going to participate, kind of more real life. They were just going to be dispatched to the event if they were available. Good. So our strategies, we all met back there. It took us 2 hours, we'll say, to muster at our fire hall number 2. At that time, while we're waiting for those resources, we would be looking at the strategies and tactics that we can employ based on what resources we had coming. Safety is number 1. So we're going to look at, obviously, making sure all our personnel have the proper PPE for this scenario, maintaining accountability, which was set up in staging. Communications is always a big part, so finding the frequencies that our mutual aid partners had in their radios, and watching fire conditions. And we tasked one task force to deal with real life emergencies. So the exercise could still roll, and we could operate on some lower acuity emergencies. Good. So this is the planning going on. We've created 4 task forces within the fire department. This was an operational decision during COVID, and it's stuck and it's worked very well for staffing. And it works very well if we ever have to break into task forces for this type of scenario. So yeah, the 4 task forces, and then we intermixed our mutual aid partners and extra resources. There's kind of a breakdown. So Task Force 1 and Task Force 2. Task Force 1 was to establish a water supply. So we had a great water supply at the end of Islands View, thanks to the Davidson's farm. They put in a hydrant probably about 20 years ago, and good supply there. So we sent the task force to secure that water supply, employ some tactics called anchor and hold, and set up sprinklers and create a wet line across the Davidson's field to prevent grass fire from moving into that neighborhood. Task Force 2, their whole duty was just to protect structures and structural defense. So they were triaging those 13 homes, make sure that they met fire smart standards, and that they could safely protect those structures. Good. There's the breakdown of the addresses. Task Force 3 and 4. So we found the appropriate apparatus to use for these task forces because they needed to be quite maneuverable. They were going to do the evacuation portion, which is a check and go. The check and go is a quick drive up to the address, survey or do a 360 around the house, look for any people that are stuck there, and help evacuate, and also keep an eye on fire conditions. So yeah, Task Force 3 was working in the Garland Seymour area. And then they were to report back to staging at Hall 2. Then once they were going to be retasked to structural protection down in the Islands View area. Task Force 4, similar task. They had Stokes to Muscle Heights. They also had Gertie Bus connected to their task force. In the mock scenario, we attached a vulnerable sector in that neighborhood that we were evacuating, and that we needed Gertie Bus to get those people out. And then once they were to clear that area, they were to return to staging. Once back in staging, their apparatus were tasked for what we call pump and roll. So their vehicles were pump and roll capable. So it's where you pump water and spray water while you're still driving, which can be a great tactic for keeping our road accesses and our egresses open as fire conditions move in. They were spraying down power poles and spraying down the sides of the road so the fire didn't progress. Yeah, protecting power poles and protecting infrastructure in that neighborhood. Good. So there's some symbolism of our objectives. Yeah, so any exercise like this, we always look at what we call a unified command. We work with the different agencies to come up with a plan. We work together on communications. We always secure a water supply early on if we can. And the coordination of evacuation goes out really early. And then we get into protecting structures and and doing the exercise and the pump and roll tactics that we did. Good, so they're having a bit of fun in the field. They're getting the sprinklers out to protect. This is at the end of Islands View. We were worried about this. This in August would be cured grass. A lot of fuel load there that would move into the structures in Islands View. So they're soaking down the field, trying to create a wet line. Good, so there's one of our portable bladders and a tender there, and that's the pump that is powering all those sprinkler heads out there. Good. Yeah, there's a pan out of how many sprinklers we had out there. We had quite a few. And that's the fire hydrant at the end of Islands View. So they're just supplying that bladder with water, and they could supply the tenders as we were filling other bladders in the neighborhood. There's some of the conoline, the hose that we use out to the sprinklers. And then this is our CMSARS 27 coming into near the Spring Beach public access there at the end of Spring Beach. You can see their open vessel and the enclosed vessel there. And there's our little dinghy from the fire hall. In a real life event, we likely wouldn't have used that dinghy to get out, but the beach is fairly shallow in there, and it was a mid-tide during that exercise. They didn't want to damage the vessels at all, so they kept a good distance out, which kind of played into the scenario. We set up a rope system so they could pull the dinghy out. And yeah, there's us getting the clothesline set up. And they were putting up to 3 people in the inflatable. Good, and that's Task Force 1 back near the hydrant. They've got 2 engines there and a tender, ready to help with that structural protection. Good, and then this is us back at the debrief after. We're debriefing all the members back at Hall 2. Yeah, we were very thankful that all our stakeholders were involved in this, and yeah, we were just singing the praise for coming over and supporting us once again. This is probably, I think, the 4th or the 5th event we ran in neighborhoods, so this is becoming fairly popular every season. And yeah, we're hoping for more and more uptake with other neighborhoods getting involved and starting at the grassroots level. Good. So the 2 things I'm hoping to get out of everyone tonight, I hope everyone's set up with Voyant Alert. If you're not, go to our website, gabriolafire.ca. And there's links to, you can just click the link there. Takes you right through there. Good, and if you haven't read the evacuation plan is on our website. Same thing, nice links to click. Good, so here's a breakdown of the island. Do you know which zone you're in? Good, if you don't know, if you're right on the border, we'll try to figure out that afterward.
Do you have a listing of the streets in each zone on the website?
Not on the website. We look closer at the larger map just to see where that zone ends. Okay, so I'm going to field questions on just the scenario and the evacuation drill. And then we'll have Shirley come up and speak about the NEPS program and ESS.
Question. Some of the insurance companies that provide insurance for our homes have response teams that they send out if there's a wildfire in the area.
Yeah.
Have you accommodated a plan for allowing them to be part of the support?
Yeah, so they're not into our plan. When this event grows larger than our capability, then BC Wildfire Service will be called and they will take over the incident. And yeah, we were just taking a course on how they play into the structural protection plan, but they report to BC Wildfire Service, and then they could be employed in that protection plan.
I just renewed my insurance, but found out about this service afterwards. My company does not use it, but there are a lot that are, more and more are using it.
Yeah, Intact Insurance, I think BCAA, and there's some other ones.
Family insurance.
Yeah. Rich?
You referred to the triage process in the residential area. Can you say a little bit more about that for us? Like what kind of decision making goes into whatever the decision is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So FireSmart is driving that a lot. Have people prepared their house for a potential wildfire? Have they taken the steps to get that fuel load away from their house? And maybe there's some houses that we don't even need to protect. They're so well built and so well sort of fortified with non-combustible building materials. So that's kind of what the triage process looks at, and then looking at how much time, how much resources it's going to take to protect that structure. Right in the back there?
Yeah, so a task force group 3 just now in your slide, they went around to check on addresses.
Yeah.
So in a real life situation, real fire situation, would we be instructed to stay there and be picked up by those vehicles, or we're encouraged to just start moving?
Good. So it's a very dynamic decision there, and that decision is going to be made on Voyant. So whether to shelter in place or not, hopefully that messaging comes out over Voyant. Yeah, you just need to be diligent if you don't get the messaging, and just watch the fire progression and see if it's getting bad enough to start evacuating.
But you wouldn't encourage people to start getting into their vehicle and start driving?
Not necessarily. Check with your information that you're getting from Voyant is probably the best step. There's some other links, I think, to emergency. I think I was looking up emergency preparedness, and there's an information email or website that provides sort of that type of information on the current level if you don't get messaging. Another step too is turn on your local radio station. Sometimes messaging goes out through the local radio stations.
What is that?
What local radio? CDC.
Yeah, Shirley will speak to it, but I think it's CBC and the Wolf stations. Yeah.
Is there any access to water bombers?
So those are large-scale decisions made by BC Wildfire Service. But looking at Gabriola, if fire is threatening Gabriola, we have a pretty high, densely populated area. So when they're making the decisions for water bombers, they look to see life safety and how many people they're going to protect. And so they could pull a water bomber off that's fighting just a forest fire with no houses at threat and bring it into a more densely populated area. Those are factors that they look at. And they're moving more to helicopters. Helicopters are much more popular, and they're now incorporating night vision as well into the helicopter operations.
Geoff, who unlocked the gate in our neighborhood?
I did.
Okay. I just thought it would be you.
But we have
I know.
4 people that have keys to the gate for their side of it. So I locked the fire department side of the gate.
Okay.
All right, I'll take a couple more questions if there is.
If you're actually moving people from a high-risk area, would you be moving them somewhere else to a shore on Gabriola or Mudge or something like?
We really have to, that's another decision that will be made probably at the EOC level in Nanaimo. Likely, we hope to, if the island is threatened with fire, the plan would likely be to get them right off the island.
And Nanaimo is part of our, what do you call it, the shared support?
Mutually.
Mutual aid?
Yeah.
No, we have no mutual aid with Nanaimo directly. They've set a policy that they won't have any of their trucks leave their district. North Cedar and Cranberry are both improvement districts, just like Gabriola. Yeah, in the back.
For the firefighting side of it, do you have sufficient water supplies here on the island to handle a fairly large wildfire area?
Yeah.
And if not, where's the backup? Where'd the water come from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Some of the big strategic planning, and we've got to thank Albert Reed for that, is our FUS study, which incorporates a water supply within 5 kilometers of each residential area. So you should have a water source within 5 kilometers of your house. So they've been sufficient. I don't know what droughts or other things that could affect that. If things get really tough, we do have the ocean as a backup. So we could look at pulling salt water out if we really had to, but that would be a secondary option. But yeah, big thanks to Albert Reed for that forward thinking.
I thought I saw a post recently about you guys were looking for additional access routes, not just roads, and for, I think, at the beginning of your presentation, you said something about have 2 ways out. And for neighborhoods that don't, are we looking right now at additional trail access routes? And who do we talk to about that?
For sure. Well, come talk to us about it. Get organized within your neighborhood and hopefully come to agreements. If you gotta go over someone's property, that there can be agreements in place. I guess Goodall would be a big one too to talk with, because Goodall's probably got a lot of that already worked out. But yeah, thank you. All right. Captain Goodall, do you have anything to add?
Just on the logistics of the program and the exercise that we ran, as the chief mentioned, the fire originated down at Brickyard. We've got that big grassy field there that it quickly ran through. And so our first, after fighting the fire for several hours, as explained, we now decided evacuation had to happen. And that's when the 2 task force, 3 and 4, went into those neighborhoods, and several people signed up to be evacuated. And so logistically, we came in 2 task force and went and did our check and goes, make sure those participants were aware that we were doing our evacuation. It was time to evacuate, and then we'd move on to the next place. So all of that takes time, and in a real life scenario, the fire moves faster than we can. So it's very important for people to understand that evacuation orders are real and it's timely. You have to move quickly, and that's why having a go bag in your house with medications, food, water, whatever stuff you can carry to get out of there quickly. So that's what I caught out of this is people question, how do they evacuate, what do they need to do, and where do they go? So we tried to make it clear. For our scenario, we have the big gravel parking lot, so people could drive there. That may not always be the case, so you have to know what your evacuation orders are.
Great. We've got one question. I want to see how many people have had a Fire Smart home assessment done. Oh, that's great. It's great. We're talking to the believers. Good. There's also now a Fire Smart mitigation as well, which is a more in-depth Fire Smart assessment. And now they're seeing insurance savings possibly by doing them. So I think some insurance companies are offering that rate right off just for doing it, not even making any changes, just for booking that appointment and following through on it.
Would we know if, this is a little further afield, but if there was a fire that started in the woods at night, is there any monitoring going on in Gabriola so that you would know if somebody had a campfire in the middle of the woods, or if a tree fell on a wire where nobody was aware of it or everybody was asleep?
I'm aware of there's satellite monitoring that sort of detects where lightning strikes happen, but I'm not sure of any detection yet for fires starting like that.
Just if it was a super hot, super windy night, or just picture if it could fly in the wind, a drone going around saying, hey,
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we got eyes and ears out there, and for people to sort of be diligent. My biggest fear when the wind's blowing, a big northwester, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, that's kind of what keeps me up at night. So if you do smell smoke, yeah, go out, report it, take a little look around, make sure it's not the neighbor barbecuing or something. And yeah, see if we can find the source. But yeah, any calls, call that right out to our duty officer at the very least, and we will investigate it.
Do you dial, if you sense there's smoke, you see a source of smoke, you dial 911 and then they connect to the duty officer?
Well, look at the risk. Are we in extreme? Are we in low? Look at the fire rating to see where we are. If we're in extreme risk, and you smell smoke and you're really worried, yeah, call 911.
Or you see somebody doing something that could start a fire any second, you might?
Then call the duty officer if it's
Okay.
preventable. We won't dispatch the whole department out for that. Good. Yeah, so everyone's going to get their Fire Smart mitigation now.
Can you say what the difference is between the basic Fire Smart and the Fire Smart mitigation?
I just really looked in depth at the house, and yeah, I think the Fire Smart home assessment takes about 30 to an hour, where the full mitigation takes 2 hours.
Is it free?
Yeah, at this time it's free.
So beyond the evaluation or the assessment of your house, what other resources do we have on Gabriola for actually getting the work done? There's lots of people who are too old to actually do that kind of work. For this, it's landscapers. What do you think?
Yeah, there's some companies that clean roofs and gutters here on the island. Pressure washing companies. I won't give you direct names, but look local. There's quite a few, and they're learning. They're also contributing. They're coming to our open houses and partaking and learning about Fire Smart and how they can market it to the island. Good, and so one thing I wanted to mention too, this exercise we do annually, we often see North Cedar and Cranberry out on our deployments, and we end up working in the field on real fires. So I just wanted to say how valuable when we go out to a wildfire, we send a tender, how much information we're bringing back to the community. I think it's so important. A lot of people ask us why we're going on deployment. We want to give back to the province, but we also want to learn all those lessons learned out in the different communities. And I think a lot has come back to our community from those deployments. All right, I'll turn you over to Shirley Nicholson now.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for all you do for our community. Well, my name is Shirley Nicholson, and I'm the team leader for what's called ESS, which is Emergency Support Services, and also the team leader for an event, a disaster event. And if there's a disaster event, and I'm talking about a disaster, I'm not talking about the needs of people who are living on Gabriola and need specific social needs. I deal with disaster and things will happen. So I think just about everybody in this room has met me before because I've spoken to you at your home and talked to you about emergency preparedness. And first and foremost, you have to ask yourself if you can leave your house in 10 minutes and what your house is going to be like when you leave it in 10 minutes. And do you have a bag ready to go at the door? And do you have that bag with you every time you go to Nanaimo or anywhere off the island? Do you have one for your pet, if you take your pet with you? All of those things need to be with you in your car so you can be self-sufficient as possible. Because trust me, the level of self-sufficiency that exists out there on the other side in Nanaimo and many other places is non-existent. So your skills and the things you've learned about sheltering in place are the most valuable things that you can know about. You've already had someone speak to you about Fire Smart, about where to look for embers to roll up into your house. You've had someone talk to you about emergency preparedness. I don't need to tell you to get a grab-and-go bag together. If you don't know the first thing about a grab-and-go bag, you can go online and buy one. But probably the easiest thing to do is just go into Pinterest or go into Google and just search grab-and-go bag. Keep in mind that if you have a pet and there is an emergency, there's a good possibility you will not be permitted to take your pet with you. And if that's the case, be prepared to leave resources behind so your dog or cat or whatever can be safely kept indoors with food and water. Because in places like 100 Mile House and areas where they have to evacuate their house because it's unsafe for them to be there, and they leave their pets at home, afterwards, as the fire progresses, often people will go to the homes, feed the pets, and start taking care of the pets, accompanied, of course, by the police. So the first and foremost, be prepared, and best of all, to be sheltering in place. Sheltering in place, staying in your house, dealing with your friends, working together to help each other. And if you're going to be evacuated, can you leave the house in 10 minutes? Don't forget to do things like close up the windows and the vents and things like that before you ever leave your house so that embers don't roll into your house. But then what happens to you next? So you're evacuated from your house and they put you perhaps on gurney And you're going to say, what happens to me now? Well, that's where I come in, because I would be opening up a reception center in one of three places. It would either be at the community hall downstairs, there's a small space down there, or it would be at the Rollo Center in that building, or you might be, if there's too many people for the location, you might be separated off and allowed to ask to go and wait at the church here on Church Street. Alternately, if the fire affects too much of the area and I still need a reception center, I have a portable trailer located at my house, and I would simply attach it to the vehicle and take it to wherever we could set up an emergency reception center. The reception center is not a place to go and get dinner. The reception center is a place where you can go and get some coffee or tea, and if you're lucky, a snack, because someone from the neighborhood brings something that we can eat, but it's not a place where you'll be provided with any meals whatsoever. So keep in mind that if you have a grab-and-go bag, perhaps you should have some snacks in there. Maybe some, noodle soups or something you can just add hot water to. Something that's really lightweight for you to carry, but can take care of you as you're going. Now, the medicines are the big thing. If you have any medication that you need, do take it with you, and do have lots with you, because on every disaster I've dealt with so far in Gabriola, the pharmacy has run out of the ingredients we need. The grocery store has run out of food, and I've often had volunteers bring me food from Nanaimo, but it depends on the ferry, and if there's a disaster where the ferry dock is affected, you won't be leaving the island by the dock, and so you may be evacuating by walk off the island. So make sure that you have the resources, as many as you can carry comfortably, in a small backpack that you can take with you. It's very, very important. So most of the people I know that have been asked to evacuate, that I know up north, and I've helped, that came down here to stay here when they've been evacuated up north, were given about 10 minutes notice to leave their house. Now you need to give yourself some thought about what you're going to take with you in 10 minutes. A friend of mine asked her what she's going to take with her, and she couldn't bear the thought of leaving the house without the family photo albums. I don't think that's going to work. And another lady who was evacuated up north left the house with a lamp she bought that day because it was new, and she didn't have anything else. So give some thought to it now. Look at the list: batteries, lighters, extra shoes, a poncho. You can pick a lot of this stuff up at the dollar store for very little money. You can get a poncho for $2.50. You can get small bowls, get everything that is washable or plastic or something that you like to use and that you're actually going to use. In your backpack, put something in there like some cards or some games, because all of these evacuations mean you're going to hurry up and wait. And if you come to a reception center, it will take about 40 minutes for you to get processed. And in 40 minutes, and if there's 1,200 of you, which is what the prediction is in a worst case scenario, you'll be waiting a damn long time. So have something to do, keep yourself busy and occupied. And you get tired of talking after a couple of days. And I've seen it here where I'll have 250 people at an evacuation center, and people just want to come to the evacuation center to charge their toys and visit with somebody because they need support. And that's the most important thing of all. So have a book that you're going to read, have some friends that you know you want to be with, and plan your shelter in place with people you want to work with to do things. So you come to the reception center only if you need assistance. And by assistance, I mean, do you need assistance to find alternate accommodation? And that's the reason you go to a reception center, unless you're told otherwise. If you do not need support and you haven't been told to leave your home, then don't come to the reception center at all. And when he says EOC, does everybody know what that means? That means Emergency Operations Center. And when there's a disaster on Gabriola, there will be a monster emergency evacuation operations center in Nanaimo at the City Hall. And that EOC will be dictating what we can do and can't do, everything from buying goods to helping the dogs and cats to doing everything else as a reception center. So that EOC, with the radio help, course. Don't forget the guys who have got the radios. They're probably going to be the only ones who can really talk to anybody, because if the power lines are down, you won't have all those cell phones and all the wonderful toys that you might have. So be careful that you have some alternate resources for communication. But no matter what, when there's an event, the ham radio guys are always stepping up. And you would have noticed them at number 2 fire hall being around there. What happens is when someone comes to the reception center, we have a representative there from the ham radio group, and I will get you to sign a form, sign in, sign your name, address, next of kin, phone number. You'll sign in with me, and then I will take that information for everybody who signs in with me and pass it off to the radio operator. This way, the radio operator can reassure the people who are looking after you, your safety, and that everyone's taken care of. They will take care of noting your information, and this information will be used to determine whether or not you've got somebody who's decided not to partake in the evacuation. Just little things like that, because there might be somebody who's still at home and changes their mind when the fire gets to their house. And so that radio information is being shared between the reception center and the radio operator is very, very important. It's very important for identifying somebody who might have been forgotten, or somebody who was sleeping and didn't think it was important to get up and get going. So it's important for you to be aware of the reception center. Now the reception center will do the next thing, which is to register you and your information. And then the reception center will have information through media and the emergency operations center, which will tell the reception center what's going to happen to you next. Now, you might be evacuated by car, in which case, if you're taking your car, don't fill your car up with stuff other than people, and drive to the ferry if that's where you're going to go, and wait in line like everybody else. But the other thing is that the Emergency Operations Center is going to tell us, for example, we already had this happen where a ferry failed. And they had to open an Emergency Operations Center in Nanaimo, and they opened it at Bevan Park. And so everybody had to go to Bevan, and they had to sit there until they were released to come back to Gabriola. Now, it wasn't a good thing for the pets, and because they had to stay in your car on the ferry. On a day like this is not good. I know just this year, so far since the hot period started in the U.S., 7 children have died in their cars from heat exposure. And yesterday, a Roddy died, which was a cop, died in the car because the guy left him in the car too long. He's got too hot. So be very cognizant of the fact that if you are going to take your dog with you and something happens to that ferry, that your car gets left on the ferry, you'll be leaving your pet there because they won't take it at the Bevan Center. And the Gabriola is much better equipped when it comes to pets and livestock care than any other place. So be aware of that. So you go to the reception center in Nanaimo, and the reception center will try to find a place for you to go to stay, perhaps if your house has been destroyed or if you need accommodation or whatever. But maybe it would be better to think about making some plans to maybe share accommodation with a friend at the other end of the island in the event of an emergency. Try to think ahead of that, because the likelihood of a fire being everywhere on Gabriola is not there. But the likelihood of the south end affected, maybe you could have a friend of note in the north end. And then the other thing is, make sure that you have an outside person who is not in BC, that your family members will all contact and say, I'm okay. I'm in Portugal and there's a fire here, but I'm okay. But call somebody who's not in BC, because the last time we had an earthquake, people couldn't call us here to talk about what was going on, because the lines were all blocked by people asking about the earthquake. And so try to have a contact person outside of BC that you contact. And everyone in the family contacts them. No matter what, if you really need to get an emergency message out, your ham radio guys are your best friends. Those are the first people that came up and functional in Phuket after the tsunami, and it'll be the same thing here. And there's no reason to know that we can lose the radios as well. But fortunately, people are having the foresight to get us ahead of that game and try and have radio operations for us to communicate. So you're in Nanaimo and you're at the reception center, and you're just sitting there waiting. And That's where you're stuck until you can either get back home again or the ferry's going to be running. But the priority for ferry use will be the emergency people, fire, police, ambulance, all those kinds of things. So you may end up sitting at the Bevan Center, and if you can't come back to Gabriola, this is the time you should have that information with you so that you can take your insurance information and go to a hotel and make yourself comfortable and be prepared to stay there until it's safe to return home. So do have those kinds of documents in your bag, in your backpack. Have your passports, have your insurance, have all those things that you need in order for you to be able to survive on the other side of the world. And just because you're over there, don't forget that if you're in Campbell River or you're somewhere else, there isn't any reason to assume that you'll always be able to get back to Gabriola, because every place there's a bridge, every place there's an overpass, every place like that could be affected by an earthquake and the road blocked. And the priority is not going to be to get you back to Gabriola. The priority is going to be dealing with people's safety and their health first. So you may get stuck over there for a few days. So the likelihood of being able to get access to those resources that you really need every day, and one of them, of course, every time you had a disaster, there's no money. There's no money here. And if you can't use your cards, you better have some money stashed in your backpack so that you've got cash to buy things and get things. Because every time you've had an event here, the machines go down and now people are short of cash to do even the simplest things. So in your, the last thing I want to say is that if you've got a backpack and you're ready to grab and go, make sure the food that you've got in there is regularly inspected or regularly replaced with something that is absolutely safe to eat. For every inspection. If you keep it fresh and keep it functional, because it's not a matter of whether or not it's going to happen. It is going to happen, and when it does, just be prepared. That's all you can do. Thank you very much.
Shirley, are there any groups here working on the short-range communication when the cell towers go down? I mean, the ham is fantastic, but on Salt Spring they have a whole network of people that have volunteered for training for short-range radio, so line of sight.
Would you like to answer that question about the hand question?
We are looking into it at this point.
The alternative short.
Yeah,
short
Mesh
line?
Lore is being investigated right now. I've got a station set up, and once we get it so it's fully functional, then we will start to try and spread it around the island. And the beauty of it is you don't need a license.
Yes, fantastic.
And it's not really expensive either.
I have a friend who connected with it, and I keep hearing about it on Salt Spring. It sounds pretty good.
And we can talk to Salt Spring from here with it.
Cool.
If you want any more complex or interesting information at any time, I'd suggest you go to the RDN website. The RDN website is being upgraded right now, but the RDN website has a lot of really good information on neighborhood preparedness, on how to form a neighborhood group and plan for sheltering in place together, all that kind of information. The website's got all kinds of stuff in it that's really useful.
A very small point, but I talked to my insurance companies, both for house and car, and they said you don't actually need to have your policy, just have the number. So it saves a lot of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need the policy, but you certainly need to know how to communicate about what your number is and what the claims are. And that applies for anything that pertains to your health and safety.
All right, any other questions for Shirley? Great. Well, we'd like to take time to thank the Gabriola Media Society for filming this. They're going to put it up on and we're going to put it up on our website as well. Ray Appel helped me with the slide deck, and Leslie Appel took some photos out in the field, so that was great. As well, I'd like to thank our mutual aid partners, North Cedar, Cranberry, Sika, RCM SARS, Gertie, ESS, RDN, for making this annual event a success. Lots of lessons learned, and yeah, hope to make improvements and continue this on. We're gonna move outside. If anyone wants to see, we've got some new apparatus. We've got a new engine that we purchased last year. It's a Wildland engine, 4-wheel drive that will support wildfire suppression. As well, our SPU, our structural protection trailer is out there that could protect about 25 homes with pumps, sprinklers, and hose. So yeah, me and Captain Goodall will be out there to field questions and tour people through the apparatus if they want. All right, thanks for attending.